Another window that you'll come across a lot is the awning window. They're the ones that pivot at the top and wind out at the bottom. Now, awning windows most often have gaps down the sides and the top, and occasionally at the bottom. So what happens over time is the sash, the timber in the sash bows, it'll bows the glass as well, and then when it winds in, it doesn't marry up very well with the sides of the jamb. Another thing that happens with awning windows a lot is that they are a little bit skewiff, and so when you wind it in, it may rub on the side of the window frame, or it may actually jam at the bottom. Occasionally the window winders fail as well. So look, when you're looking at an awning window, consider these things and deal with the function of the window first before thinking about draft sealing the window. With awning windows, it's sometimes quite difficult to determine whether draft sealing is warranted. So the fly screen is on the inside, and that obscures your vision of the window. If you can take the fly screen off easily, then do so, and you'll have a much better look at the window itself. However, sometimes it's difficult to get the fly screens off without dealing with the window coverings first. A strong torch is pretty handy for looking through the fly screen to the actual window sash and window frame itself. So how do we deal with awning windows? Well, the primary way is through draft dodgers for awning windows. These are draft dodgers fitted with a small black seal. You see, this seal doesn't sit proud of the top of the moulding, and so it's quite discreet on an awning window, especially after the fly screen goes back on. How are these fitted? Well, to fit these, the side mouldings that exist in the frame have to be taken off, and then the draft dodgers for awning windows are fitted either side of the window winder and then up the sides. Most importantly, the top one fits not to the window frame but to the top of the window sash itself. So as you wind out the window sash, the draft dodger goes with it, and as the window sash is closed, it comes up and gently meets the top of the window frame. That's a far preferable action than having the opposite, where that is on the head of the window frame and the window sash comes up to meet that. Occasionally you'll find awning windows with massive gaps at the top. These were done in the 60s and was a way to ventilate the room without the need for wall vents. So that was the idea, have a massive gap along the top of the awning window, then you don't need wall vents. Of course, we don't want the massive gap, and so that's another reason for having the draft dodger fitted to the actual face of the awning sash, because that works very well for really any kind of size gap. Now, an alternate way to draft-proof awning windows may be EMV. And I say maybe for a couple of reasons. So most awning windows have simple pivot hinges at the top, and that leaves plenty of room in the jambs for things such as EMV. However, some older awning windows, instead of the little pivot hinges at the top, they instead have very long sliding hinge mechanisms along the side, and in those cases there's really not enough room for any kind of weather stripping, let alone the EMV. So if that's the case, EMV is out. The other thing that you need to consider when looking at EMV is having a good look at the gaps down the sides of the windows. You'll need to do this from outside. So you'll need to see that there's at least a 2mm gap down each side so that the EMV can function properly in there without jamming up the window sash. And the same at the bottom. So there needs to be an appropriate gap all around for the EMV to operate in. The EMV is not terribly good at fitting in the head of the awning window, unless you want to really take the awning window off and fit it, but that's quite a bother. And so even if you fit EMV around the sides and the bottom, you may want to consider draft dodgers for awning windows for the heads of the awning windows. And then that can be quite well draft sealed. Again, of course, make sure that there's an appropriate gap for the EMV. And that's awning windows.